Yep. In the meantime, we head over to the opposite side of the spectrum. PNC and Race. This is a battle for Race. PNC, of course, he's in the playoff running just barely, based on tiebreakers. A couple things have to go right. He has to win this match. Monsanto has to lose out, and a couple of other things too. But for Race, this is do or die. A loss here is just beyond devastating. It requires a lot of miracles for him to get out of the relegation spot. It's just a must-win situation. We're not going to even try to paint the situation otherwise. If he gets the win, he ties Zalay. Zalay loses. Race can get that extra win and just not even leave it to tiebreakers and clear it at 5 and 9, while Race at 4 and 10. Of course, the other side is that Race just lose here and makes Zalay's job easier.
Yeah. Even if Race loses, he does have a shot.
Fight with honor.
At potentially getting that spot or avoiding that relegation spot. If he loses here, and him and Zalay have a head-to-head tomorrow, both of their last matches is against each other. So if Race loses here, he goes to 3 and 10.
Yeah.
If Zalay loses his last match, then it will come down to the head-to-head between Race and Zalay.
Well, I mean, Zalay did beat Race last time they met earlier in the season as well.
So they'd be tied 1-1.
They'd be tied 1-1.
And Race's tiebreaker score is currently slightly better than Zalay's if you account for Zalay already having one more win. He would need also help because what's interesting is that Zalay has beaten Just Saiyan twice so far this season. Race has beaten Frozen twice so far this season. So Race is also going to be watching that match between Frozen and Than, because if Frozen wins, it improves his tiebreaker score significantly since he gets +2 points, but it also denies Zalay his tiebreaker scores. So still a lot that can happen. And PNC, one of the things to note is that he is 2-0 versus Monsanto in the season, who is currently in 4th place. So if PNC wins and Monsanto loses out, PNC would automatically have the head-to-head tiebreaker. What makes it even more complicated is that Monsanto and Amnesiac, who PNC is already tied against, are tied. So if Monsanto loses, which PNC needs to happen in order for him to have a chance, then that means Amnesiac would have won, and he'd be tied with PNC at the end of the season. So it would come down to the head-to-head for them as well. Come down to the tiebreaker too.
TJ, I just said let's ignore all that and
quickly.
just boil that down to a must-win situation for Race.
But it's important because Race, yes, a win would help, but it's not 100% necessary. Every single match for the entire
it's a must-win situation, TJ. That's what I'm boiling it down to.
Okay. But PNC really wants to get into the playoffs. You know, he talked about how he feels a little bit less pressure because he's already qualified for the global finals. But to do that 2 seasons in a row where he has a poor start, admits it in both cases, says, I didn't practice enough. I underestimated how much time I needed to put in order to play at my best each weekend. And then to sneak into the playoffs at the very end. If he did it before, he can do it again, and that's probably got to be his mentality going into this last week.
He's a sneaker.
He's a sneaky guy.
Well, this doesn't look very good for PNC right off the bat. It might seem like a situation where PNC wants to pass. Or if he acknowledges that the Pyromancer is most likely going to draw a card anyways, then he just plays a Novice Engineer and lets them draw a card. In this case, Crystology does help him still pick up some extra cards in his deck. And he's going to have to rely on a coin 4 mana play next turn instead.
Circle of Healing would be the absolute nuts right now.
It would be the Stone Cold nuts, but having Power Word Shield is still very good.
Yeah.
Because it even puts things out of range of things like True Silver Champion if he Power Word Shields his 1/3. I think that's probably the question that's in Race's mind. Like, what should I shield?
Yeah, shield and heal onto the Northshire Cleric would keep it alive.
He knows that Crystology was played as well, so if he plays Power Word Shield, he's also somewhat resigning himself to the fact that Elven Archer's going to get value, potentially. So instead, he chooses to develop Tempo, which I think makes sense because Rase still has the Northshire Cleric #2, and he has Psychopomp. So his card draw sources aren't going to be super limited.
And his method of attack here opens up with the Injured Blade Master play. Because it all depends on what a PNC decides to kill if he does have True Silver Champion. If he kills the Injured Blade Master, easy Psychopomp. If he kills the Northshire Cleric, an easy beef up of the Injured Blade Master with the Northshire Cleric in hand.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of a win-win by playing the Injured Blade Master. It opens up the options for Rase. And that also makes the decision harder for PNC. Because both the Injured Blade Master and the Northshire Cleric are very threatening minions.
Yeah, so I think with that in mind, I really like that play from Rase.
Yes.
It was good.
It was real good. Quality.
Move quickly. Let me think. Job done.
Second bomb hits. Be hard pressed for Rase to find another play.
Unless he knows for 100% certainty that his very next card is Circle of Healing. Which is impossible.
I wonder.
So Psychopomp it is.
Begin.
Meanwhile, this chip damage, not irrelevant either.
Oh no.
Just kind of puts in a situation where PNC will be constantly afraid of a Divine Spirit and Interfire when he's in the teens.
And he's only at 4 mana, and without like Wild Pyromancer or Consecration, his ability to clean up this board state is limited. Very limited. He can clear off 2 minions with Hammer of Wrath and True Silver Champion. If he had 5 mana, he'd clear off 3 minions, but unfortunately, just not the case. Trying to figure out the best way to set this up. He could Hammer of Wrath while Pyromancer, True Silver Champion down the Northshire Cleric. The next turn, he could roll into like Elven Archer on the Psychopomp plus like Christmas King or Flashlight. He picks that up.
Must move quickly.
Yeah, I think bottom line, I do just like Hammer of Wrath to start things off. Drawing deeper into your deck does seem like a generally better option here.
Job done.
Back in your mind saying, please don't do it, please don't. Divine Spirit Interfire is still only 14 plus the 3, so 17. Circle Hitting was the very next draw.
It was his very next draw. So the Psychopomp was a very poor play.
I mean,
he should have gone for Northshire Cleric, Power Shield, Circle of Healing to draw you cards.
You're right.
Just a a massive error. I'm kidding, obviously.
So if you play Northshire Cleric, it is a soft lethal setup. You put your opponent down to 13, and a Topsy-Turvy plus the 4 damage on board is 13.
Yeah.
That does feel pretty sketch when you know that you're coming up on turns where your opponent can clear off things, or even just Shrink Ray, and Shrink Ray just nullifies all of that. And it's fairly obvious. If you just play Northshire Cleric and do nothing, your opponent's like, oh yeah, you obviously have Interfire in your hand.
Yep.
Or some equivalent of it. Just going for it. So I'm going to close out this game right now.
Is someone injured?
And plays the Northshire Cleric.
All in. I guess it makes sense. He has Bonsomni. Card draw isn't really a concern too much.
Yeah.
How does PNC deal with this?
He has to react. Is there even any way?
So the main thing is dealing with his 9/4. He has Subdue as a 1-outer.
Subdue, Flash of Light plus Elven Archer would keep him alive because there'd be 10 on board. He would go up to 12. So no matter what, this turn needs to start with Novice Engineer.
You could also just get Timeout.
Could also get Timeout, yeah. That would buy him an extra turn to find Equality, for instance, which could be used with that Wild Pyromancer. But I think first thing first, Holding out for PNC is to Novice Engineer and
Let
find
me think.
Flash of Light, Subdue, or Timeout.
I hope you like my invention.
Okay. Flash of Light, Elven Archer does keep him alive. Barely.
Yeah, he's at 12, staring at 10.
Quickly.
Subdue was the next card.
Ooh.
And if Rase finds extra arms, Inner Fire is enough too. Rase is on the board. Tempo Priest.
Risk paying off.
He didn't draw a single card with Northshire and Cleric, I believe.
No, you didn't.
It was just a Crystallizer. It was just a Dire Maul. All he did was just play for tempo. He had all these opportunities at any junction to go for card draw.
Nope. Playing for tempo and pressuring the Paladin as early as possible limits their access to, you know, the big tools and limits the amount of time they have to find them. So it ends up being pretty smart because you could have all the cards in the world, but if the Paladin, you know, gets the timeouts early, gets the removal to follow it up, you eventually just kind of get muscled out. So I like Race's decision to kind of just press the issue and say, I'm just going to make my biggest thing each turn and hit you with it and force you to have the perfect answers. And ends up being rewarded.
All right, so that's the first game in this best of 3. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to find out if Rase can keep up that momentum up against PNC.
Good enough. Don't have to do it my way, just find a way that works. ETC does recover from that one ropey turn in it.
Wait, he needs to play the weapons project. He's just dead. If he didn't play the weapons project, the Hunter Ace can just go Fireball, Zephyrus, Fireball. Viper got the Blast Shield. Viper realizes that he just made a huge error here. Bomb!
Bomb! Second bomb!
Oh no, all the things are green.
Third bomb!
Third bomb!
That was like low-key. Super good.
Everything worked out about as perfectly as possible.
What is Tice doing there? He drew a smiley face on an orange.
My name is Francisco Frale Montas. One of my best friends came out with my nickname. We are all getting like nicknames with 3 letters for some reason, like 13 years old. My name is Francisco, and Francisco's are called Pancho. So it's just like 3 letters from that, P and C. One interesting thing about me that most people don't know is that I used to study ancient history. I quit for Hearthstone a couple of years, but plan on going back at one point. My favorite Hearthstone Esports moment was when I topped like Lethal 2016 Copa America Finals. That was like my first big win, and I was very, very happy. It's like finally all that I worked for coming true. Beating Grandmasters for me means that all the hard work that I put in last years and all the time that I spent the game is paying off. My favorite thing about Grandmasters would be that I get a chance to prove myself like on the big stage. What makes me unique as a player, I would say, is just bringing very complicated decks to tournament, like mostly combo decks that people usually don't play. My personal goals this year will be to earn as much money as I can, of course, and yes, improve as a player and play the best I can.
My name is Lucas Guerra Romano. When I was like 11 or 12, I don't know if I saw like the word raise, like people using poker, raise your bet or something, and oh, this word is kind of nice, and then I cut the letter I, and then I use it just raise. That's how I created my nick, and I'm using it since I was like 11 years old or something. So last year was pretty huge for me. I have had a lot of great achievements, finished like top 18 points on NA. Being here, being a Grandmaster, like people will recognize me as a Grandmaster, and that's pretty cool. I'm always looking for a win, but being here together with the best players in the world, I will try to push myself a lot. It's pretty easy to win a game that you are favored, that you drew well, but you need to win bad matchups, games that you have a small percentage to win. Like, you need to evaluate when you need to risk something or when you just need to play pretty safe. This is what I try to do, and I think I do well sometimes. I'm here to win. I will try my best for it.
Rase currently up 1-0 with relegation potentially on the line. It comes down to two people. Either Zale or Rase are going to get relegated, no longer be a Grandmaster after this season. Rase, with this win, would put himself in a situation where fate is in his hands. With the defeat here means it's out of his hands. He needs help from Zale and a few other people. Because if he wins, him and Zale will have 4 wins apiece. And then he has the ability to play against Rase on Sunday and at worst tie records and see what tiebreaker 2 is.
Yep.
With a defeat here and Zale winning today, well, that just means that he's out.
Yes. So either way, it seems like, you know, Rase, if he doesn't win tomorrow, it doesn't matter at all. You know, at the very most for Rase, he'll have the ability in the head-to-head for Zale. But it starts with a win right now. That way he doesn't also have to watch the broadcast super intensely later and just root against Zale in every way possible. PNC, on the other hand, if he loses this match right now, he's out of playoff contention. He would go down to 6-8. Currently, the top 4, the minimum amount of wins is 7. So the minimum wins for playoffs in Division B would be 7. So PNC, in order to keep his playoff hope alive, needs this win. He did make the playoffs with 6-8 last season, but unfortunately, the way his division panned out this season, he won't with that record.
Yep, that's right. So let's go into game number 2 now. Now is time for the main program, TJ. We have Highlander Warrior in our midst. Rase decided to put his relegation hopes in Warrior, which I think most people agree is not a bad choice.
Is someone injured?
But he decided to do it with aggro Highlander Warrior.
Nice.
Yesterday, we saw it actually beat the Priest, despite making some misplays.
Yeah.
Eddie had his opportunity for Solterace to do some real big work, end up struggling a little bit. Looked like it was going to go the other way with Muzzy, and then Eddie got the win anyways.
Yeah.
Really close back and forth. Funny enough, that was the only game Eddie won. Muzzy ended up winning the series 2-1.
Yeah.
But it was dramatic, to say the least.
It was very dramatic. But you could see how the Highlander Warrior, has the ability to fight back. They have a lot of early game. Half the deck, or almost half the deck, is 2 mana or less. Purple joked about his interview yesterday. He doesn't think that Brawl belongs in the deck. But Eddie, in winning that matchup, had a 33 or a 66.6% chance Brawl that if he didn't hit, he would have lost the game. So it gave him a chance.
He even tweeted about it right after.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny.
Which is, you know, kind of funny that we had just had that interview in the previous match. And of course, with Highlander decks, you do need to, you know, find ways to fit in that 25th through 30th slot because sometimes there's just not 30 good cards that can go in a deck.
Hey, I got
You need
you,
to
friend.
change your game plan slightly.
Wow. Aggressive use of the silence to try to stop the Enrage.
Is someone injured?
Enrage is no longer an official mechanic in Hearthstone. It's called when damaged. So, Temple Berserker with Reborn and +2 attack when damaged, not really a factor here. Rase has definitely the option to still kill another, kill one of the clerics here with Execute.
Yeah. I like the Cruel Taskmaster better, I think. Reason being is because the Cruel Taskmaster may never be able to kill a minion.
Sure.
Whereas Execute with Improved Morale in hand will always be able to kill a minion.
Right, and either way, you're going to give your opponent the ability to draw a card.
Yes, no matter what.
I must choose. What now?
So I do like the Cruel Taskmaster. Take out one of the Northshire Clerics and then plan to kill the other Northshire Cleric the following turn with the execute.
Whew.
Oof.
Important draw here for PNC. Although, by doing this, he actually doesn't remove the 2-2 and does give an opportunity for Rase to potentially utilize that.
Rampage.
I wonder.
Yeah, very interesting spot, but 3 cards is very difficult to pass up.
You'd go for the 3 cards? Yeah, I guess you could. You don't really want to necessarily wait to try and see if you get the...
Oh, you can't go for 3 cards. You'd have to use Divine Spirit.
Oh, that's what I thought you were advocating for. I'm like,
No.
Divine Spirit is pretty ambitious, I'd say.
Yeah. I thought you could heal first, but the Cruel Taskmaster's only 2, so if you healed, it would bring the Northshire Cleric to full health.
Yeah, I actually like this better. I don't want to give my opponent a chance to go for any kind of minion buff.
Yeah. Oh, so Brawl picked up. So before the Brawl was picked up, Rase might have been worried about using the Execute because then his follow-up to any type of like big minion would be incredibly limited. But now Brawl gives him kind of a backup plan.
Does he have to do anything with this Northshire Cleric? He could also just armor up.
He could just armor up.
You know, like, if his opponent extends onto the board, it makes Brawl better. It gives himself time to set up Wrench Caliber. Like you said, Execute gets better after his opponent has committed to things.
Yeah.
If PNC's hand's like Divine Spirit, Inner Fire, Rase would be like, well, that sucks to take 20 damage, but I have Executed, but my opponent has no cards.
Yeah. At the same time, though, you know, at the end of the day, I think this is mostly a tempo deck. So with tempo decks, usually spending your mana equals good.
The end.
It's not always as simple as that because I do see merit in, like you said, let's imagine a hypothetical world. He holds on to Brawl, gets a super value out of Brawl because PNC extends with that Northshire Cleric alive, and then he follows up with Execute after the fact to kill whatever minion that PNC remains. But, you know, there is the other side of that coin, which is, well, what if PNC just suits up that Northshire Cleric and you end up executing next turn anyway? Then you're just essentially wasted a turn worth of mana in where the world where you could have been.
It's true, but they did extend pretty all in at that point.
True.
And then you're like, pretty safe, I'd say. Hard, I mean, not for sure because it's Psycho Pop.
Yeah. Whoa.
Ahmet Light Warden. But that, again, goes into the Brawl, right?
Yeah, goes into the
I
Brawl.
see a dark
But it has a high likelihood of a very impactful minion surviving, because if any of these 3 minions survive, it's still an issue for Rase to have to deal with.
No, specifically, it's the 1/3 Cleric surviving that's good. Maybe Rase doesn't have to go for anything. Maybe he can Ethereal Lackey Brawl next turn. Just give himself a higher chance of survival, or a higher chance of winning.
Yeah.
Because then there's 2 out of 4 outcomes instead of 1 out of 3, so it's a pretty significant percentage bump. And then he let his opponent extend onto the board, right? Like by doing Divine Spirit Inner Fire. It does hurt a lot though, and if you miss on the Brawl, you lose. So I could totally understand a Brawl trigger pull at this point, but
What
like you said, the
now?
1 in 3 Ahmet surviving, absolutely awful. If the Northshire Cleric survives, you're super happy.
If Light Warden survives, it's still pretty bad, because that's a 1/7 that's going to continue growing. But if it continues growing, it does reduce the impact of like Divine Spirit Inner Fire, and the follow-up is much worse.
Rase doesn't even want to look, closes his eyes. The Northshire Cleric wins the Brawl. Awful news for PNC.
Yeah.
And Rase doesn't have to attack anymore. He can just pass.
Yeah. Nothing for PNC to get this card off of. Neverset Ritualist.
What a world of difference.
Yeah.
Having a Met would be to play another 2/7. You know, that's 2 games of Brawl and Highlander Aggro Warrior where it ends up becoming an important reason why the deck's able to win.
Where are you at, Purple?
Firebat. All the other people that were kind of talking trash about it. Now, I get it. Theoretically, their theory is correct. which is to play stuff, right? Like, you could make the argument that if if Rase had more aggressive tools, he wouldn't be in the position where he needs to do that, right?
Yeah.
He'd be able to kill the cleric, kill the Psycho Pomp, don't have to worry too much about it.
I think specifically in like this matchup, it matters a lot more. Like if you're looking at other matchups that have more follow-up, they're not as all in the early game. Yeah, obviously because of how low your curve is and because of how many board manipulation tools you have in the early game, you're likely going to be ahead. You know, that's what the deck does. It gets ahead. But it's still fun to be
Divine
result-oriented.
Spirit.
From nothing, power.
Oof.
Sweeping Strike is interesting.
It is.
Because let's say he plays Frothing Berserker and Injured Tolvir this turn. Frothing Berserker could just dunk the board really hard.
I like that.
The blade be thirsty.
Oh, yeah.
I've got more left in me.
Also, fun interaction you just saw in front of you. Injured Tolfir deals damage to himself. Or rather, Battlecry deal 3 damage to this minion, and that damage counts as damage done for the Frothing Berserker to get stronger.
Yeah.
Very amusing.
Yeah, Injured Tolvir, a surprising MVP for this deck. If you're on the coin, you can coin Injured Tolvir. Very unlikely to get dealt with, and Rampage it next turn, and then Bloodsworn Mercenary the turn after. Obviously, that's like the ideal curve, and in Highlander, that's not going to happen as often, but I'm sure anybody who's been playing a lot of ladder has run into that combo from the aggressive warriors that are playing 2 copies of each of those cards in their deck. That's a 3/3 and 2 5/6s on turn 3.
Interesting. Whoa. PNC.
Whoa!
I thought he was going to heal with his hero power first, but seems like it doesn't matter because he can just heal this after.
Yeah, he can heal the Injured Tolvir with the hero power.
Yeah,
and then never start to get the bonus card.
If he specifically didn't draw that, though, he wouldn't have had that extra card.
Is enough.
But apparently, he was going to draw it either way. The next 2 cards in the deck were Injured. And Bonsamdi finds the card draw source. Good positioning against Sweeping Strikes.
I mean, no matter what, with Nephroset Ritualist being in the middle, it's gonna be good positioning against Sweeping Strikes. I mean, Sweeping Strikes is still good though, because it kills the 2/3 for free.
Well, yeah.
And also puts a target on the back of the Frothing Berserker.
So, Leroy Sweeping Strike is a possibility this turn for Rase.
Oh yeah, because that allows him to get past to the Northshire Cleric.
And if you play Leroy, you actually kill off one of the whelps, I believe.
Well, you would Sweeping Strikes the Frothing Berserker and put the Leroy into the 6/6. Oh no, you can do it this way and Sweeping Strikes the Frothing Berserker and put the Leroy into the Nephroset Ritual.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the same in both cases. Yeah.
And also, this thing just keeps getting stronger and stronger. It's a full clear.
Whoa.
Great sequencing from Rase.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a big boy.
And it's a 15 damage Froth Berserker on board with Rampage is 18.
So he has an opportunity to put this Inner Fire on the opponent's Frothing Berserker.
That is the last Inner Fire in the deck, though. PNC does play 1 Topsy-Turvy, so he would have that in his arsenal to use as a game-ending flip. But 1 Divine Spirit used, that would be both Inner Fires used. But I think taking 13 power off the board seems pretty reasonable.
Right. If you play Injured Tolvir to just get things in the way, you're asking to get hurt.
Yeah.
If they have like Restless Mummy or something else to get past his Injured Tolvir.
Restless Mummy or a combination of some rushers or like Inner Rage plus something. Zephyrus, I mean, there's a lot.
Zephyrus. Oh, he's asking to get hurt.
Oh.
I mean, there aren't the cards necessary in Race's hands right now. It's just
Yeah. Bonsamdi draws a Beaming Sidekick and a Light Order, so it's not like the most valuable Bonsamdi, but
fair enough.
the longer he waits, the more likely it is that PNC is going to draw those extra 1-drops if Bonsamdi has less value.
Oh, Tau Crier.
Woo!
TJ.
So there's Darius Crowley, Restless Mummy.
Okay, he can still Rampage, and then Darius Crowley goes to the 4/4.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to get the Restless Mummy and just hit for bajillion damage. This is still a lot, though. PNC.
Oh, it has Sweeping Strike
the
still.
Sweeping Strike. I forgot. The Sweeping Strike stays. I have very rarely seen Sweeping Strike hit more than one time.
Yeah.
PNC forgot.
Which makes the play last turn
even worse.
even worse.
And he just drew a Light Warden.
Because at the very least, Rase just trades his Frothing Berserker, kills both the injured Tolvir and the injured Blade Master, and then plays whatever he draws, and you're still behind, right? Like that's best case scenario for PNC.
Usually when I see like a Sweeping Strike, you just yeah, that's so funny, and that's actually even better that he didn't use Sweeping Strike on Leroy then, because Leroy,
it's 6. Yeah, Leroy would have died. They would have just traded, and he would have traded his Frothing Berserker.
Great knowledge from Rase to like use that application, and also what's funny is that if you just hovered over Frothing Berserker, you would have seen that. It's just one of those things that information's available to you, but you just have to look.
Now, granted, usually when Sweeping Strikes is put onto a minion that otherwise doesn't have an effect, that Lightning Bolt effect gets added onto it. But since Frothing Berserker has an innate effect, the Lightning Bolt's already there.
Right.
So, like, you can, like, we both did it. We just assumed that was a normal Frothing Berserker.
And he doesn't play another minion because he's learned. Livewire Lance.
Okay.
That's just good stuff. I kind of wonder if he just wants to play Snip Snap here, though, instead.
Yeah, the 3 Snip Snaps. If you play Livewire Lance, you're limited to 2, but you might find like a Rush Lackey or a Kobold Lackey, which lets you kill this Bonsamdi much more efficiently.
Well, the Livewire Lance allows him to even just kill and keep the Frothing Berserker on board, just keep hitting face.
No, that's true. That's very true.
Livewire Lance plus the 2 trades is +5 attack. This Frothing Berserker goes to an 8/3 plus Sweeping Strike. It's still active on it.
Yeah. No, after further thought, I really like the Livewire Lance play because the Lackey can also add a ton of... All right, well, that one has no board impact, immediate board impact. But the double Snip Snap played beside it.
Yeah, I like the spread out, too, because it makes silence worse. Helps you get past things better. This is looking lights out. PNC, is he just dead? He's staring at 14 on the board, and the minions he plays are just going to get swept up.
You have best.
Yep.
PNC sweeps it up. Rase is still alive. 2-0 victory over fellow Latin American PNC. And that a much-needed victory as Lay is now the one in the hot seat because he has to get that victory to make his chances the best. Otherwise, he leaves it up to the last Sunday match. If Zalay just wins out the rest of his matches, he's good to go. But, he definitely wants to at least posture himself in the best situation that he can.
Yes.
Really good job there from Rase. Loved the way he played that matchup.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was really well done.
Yeah, lots of, little interactions that, make a huge difference as it moves forward. And I guess PNC learned that the hard way, too. The not playing Bonsambi turn. Maybe that game looks differently after that.
Yeah.
Obviously it's hard to tell at that point since both players are still healthy. So it could have been like a fight for board. But the Highlander Warrior coming out swinging here with 2 Priest wins. 2-0 versus Priest in the couple times that we've seen it so far. Very cool to see.
With 2 brawls coming in.
2 brawls. That's what I'm talking about.
Let's check in with Rase. Fresh off his victory. Rase, can you hear us?
Hey guys, yeah, can you hear me?
Great. Talk to us about where your head's at. That was a pretty intense game back and forth.
Yeah. For this week, I was super stressed over this GM season because I care too much. And when I started losing, that was terrible to me and to my mind. And yeah, everything was a disaster. Then my brother told me, because the season reset and I played on ladder and I played with this warrior, I won 20 games and lost one and got rank 1 legend. And I told him why I can't do this at GM. And then he told me, just pretend that you are playing ladder, just pretend that you don't care about it. And I'm trying to do that. It's not easy, but I will try to like just have fun this week and hope for the best. I will try to win against LA, hope tiebreakers is good enough, and yeah. That's
very big win. What inspired you to even try the Highlander Warrior in the first place? Because this deck is weird.
Yeah, I saw some people tweeting about it. Oh, this deck is good, and I've tried everything this season already, and I haven't played this warrior. So I will try this, and I kept winning, and oh my god, this deck is super good. Then I practiced with ETC, and he was telling me, no, don't bring this deck's terrible, even though I was winning. Yeah, even though it was working for me, no, don't bring that. And the other thing fun is almost every week I prep with Eddie, but for this week I didn't talk with him. And he also brought this deck, even though we didn't talk each other. So that was cool.
I was going to ask my follow-up question. Did you and Eddie decide to bring it, but you said that you didn't even talk to him, so really funny stuff there. Well, I mean, your match up against Zalay, so can we talk a little bit about that? You have your lineup, you have the Priest Druid, Shaman, and this Highlander Warrior, and then Zalay, he's got the Reno Mage, Shaman, Druid, Priest. Do you feel good in that head-to-head?
Yeah, I hope so. I don't want to talk too much about it because maybe I can give some information that I don't want to do at this moment. But yeah, I hope I can. I think I played really well today. I like how I played. I was more calm, and I hope I can play like this against LA and get another win.
All right, cool. Well, Rase, I mean, the fate of your season may be in tomorrow's match, so not too much more to say there. But let's, I think we're gonna see a really cool conclusion either way, and it's been a heck of a season. I think nobody doubts the effort that you put in. I think people are cheering for you a lot. Are you getting a lot of messages from fans or people in your community at all whatsoever?
Yeah, like on chat, people talk a lot of things that I don't like to read because no one likes to read like people talking bullshit about you. But yeah, I have a lot of support too. A lot of Brazilian people message me and, oh, I'm cheering for you. You can do better than this, and a lot of cool stuff. And that is really, really nice to have some support like that.
All right, definitely. So if all the fans of Rase and the Brazilian fans around there in the world definitely lend Rase your energy, and I think we can say it very safely that Rase 2 is also going to be getting a fine. Swearing on.
We're 2 for 2 with profanity in interviews today.
Yeah, we're just kidding, of course, Rase. Get some rest, and we'll see you back tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. See you.